Listener discretion is advised. Hello and welcome to True Crime, the podcast that helps you find new, emerging, and undiscovered true crime podcasts. I'm Greg, the host and curator of True Crime. Today's episode is from PNW Haunts and Homicides. Caitlin and Cassie cover true crime, paranormal, and all things spooky in the Pacific Northwest. PNW Haunts and Homicides is an indie drop-in favorite, and this episode is particularly fun because it's one of their Patreon live episodes, so I hope everyone enjoys that. If you like today's episode, make sure to check out the episode description for links to subscribe. All right, let's get this show started.
Begin. Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, creepy people.
Hi, out there.
Hello. This is PNW Haunts and Homicides.
Yep, representing the Pacific Northwest.
Woo woo.
Why did I say it like that? West.
West. I was just going to say, is that what PNW stands for?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It is. That's our favorite bit.
It really is. Probably literally everywhere else in the country, they're like, oh, we get it. Oh, well.
Did they have a cool name on the East Coast?
No.
No, that's right.
That's right. They only call one coast the best coast.
Ooh, snap.
Ooh,
We're going to make so many enemies right now.
Listen. Okay, we have Hollywood. We have Seattle. We have Portland.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, we can just cut all of this out because I don't think that apparently that is not a persuasive argument. All right. Well, speaking of Portland, do I have a story for you?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I've been working on this for a little while, and I was really nervous that somebody was going to scoop us on this.
Yeah.
So
she was stressing hardcore, texting me every hour, like, oh, we got to do this. We got to get this done.
Not every hour. It was not. So we are kind of switching things up. I have another case series that we've kind of hinted at.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And it's getting kind of preempted just because now that we've got the information about sentencing, I feel like I wanted to wait for that. That was another thing. I know some other podcasts have talked about this case, but we didn't know what the sentence was.
Yeah.
I needed that.
She needed it for this breaking news episode.
Finality.
Do you want me to talk about my little weird thing before you like jump right into this awesome case I'm really excited to hear about?
Yeah. Are you super excited?
Did you hear the sarcasm in my voice or no?
Yeah, I'm pretty well acquainted with sarcasm. So yeah, I think I picked up on that.
Okay. Well, I have one like super short, kind of cool thing. It relates back to the episode we just did, episode 62 about the lost crystal in the witch's castle.
Yeah.
Very cool title. It reminded me of like a preteen book.
Yeah. It really, you should start writing YA fiction.
I could.
I could.
Yeah. Because they'll never know that the writing is just shit.
Oh
totally kidding. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, we've been talking about repeating numbers a lot.
Like we sure have.
It's happened with you in your cases. But I found some weird kind of coincidences with the last episode.
Oh,
Yeah. So recently I've told Caitlin, I don't know if we mentioned it on the podcast. My favorite number is 9. We
did talk about
because
that.
we stayed in room 9 on our podiversary. I'm going to mention it again.
Ooh.
So in the last episode, we were talking about my rhodonite crystal, and you had sent me some of the things we were looking up.
Oh, yeah.
You sent me some of those websites and articles. Yeah. So I was reading through them and stuff. And one of them had a number association with the crystal. Can you guess what fucking number it was?
I'm going to say 72.
No, it was 9.
Which is crazy because, that's associated with a lot of different aspects of witchcraft.
Is it?
It is.
I haven't looked into the number 9
because
I probably
3
should.
Is my favorite number. And it's 3 times 3. I don't know if you knew that about 9.
And I'm turning 33 this year.
You are.
So excited. So excited.
I can vouch for how awesome it is.
Yay. It's good to know.
Yeah.
But also in that episode, do you remember the number of children we talked about?
Was it 9?
It was fucking 9. They had 9 children.
Oh, that's entirely too many.
I know, but isn't that so weird that I just put those two topics together? They ended up having a number association with my favorite number. It's just weird.
That is weird.
Yeah. But it's those things that make you feel like you're on the right track. We've talked about it before.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, so it was 3s and 5s that we were just seeing left and right. I'm seeing some 6s now.
Ooh.
We've got 9s coming in. So hopefully that's a good one. Hopefully in numerology, that's a number we want. I know 6 is.
I thought 6 was the devil's number. Which makes it great in my book, but that's fine.
Yeah. Should we get into it? All right. Today, we bring you a local story. The very most localist, in fact.
Most localist.
Yeah. It made the rounds and even international headlines in 2018. You've likely heard bits and pieces of the story about a beloved Portland chef and his wife, whose entirely doomed love story took a dark turn when she tried to bring her hobby writing into the real world.
Ooh.
Ew. This is the story of Daniel Craig Brophy and Nancy Crampton Brophy of Portland, Oregon.
Crampton.
Yeah. That's how I've been saying it in my head for these last few weeks.
That's her last name? She has 2 last names?
So I think she must have hyphenated after they got married. Yeah. Because Crampton would be a really weird middle name.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's kind of weird.
Is that her middle name? Dan Brophy was well known in the foodie scene around Portland as a lead instructor and head chef at OCI, which is, for those of you not in the know, Oregon Culinary Institute, which has since closed.
Oh,
yeah. So we actually, though, got a pretty cool replacement in that space, though.
Oh,
so I'm not going to go into why it closed or anything, but just know that now it is a Blue Star Donuts.
Oh, nice. Have you been there?
I have been to Blue Star. I have not been to that location that I can recall.
Pod trip.
I know. Absolutely. I've already, spoiler alert, made a pod trip for this case.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah. We'll get
excited.
There. I know. He was a well-respected teacher by his students who seemed to genuinely like him, whether learning from him or enjoying his dry sense of humor.
Oh, I love a dry sense of humor.
Oh, you're going to love this. I included some examples.
Yes.
Brophyisms, as they were referred to by those that knew him well, like every mushroom is edible once.
That's amazing.
I know.
Oh my God.
There's more. And you can easily cure a sick chicken with a shovel.
Oh my God.
Little dark.
I was going to say, is that dry or is that dark? This seems dark sense of humor.
Yeah. And I've got one more. And it would go a lot faster if you stopped moving so slow.
That's great.
Yeah. Aww. So those are some of the best examples of a sardonic, dry-ass dad joke I've heard in a while. But the man who was oft quoted as saying, "Life is a science project," seemed to move through the world in an eclectic and unapologetic way, driven by his passion for both horticulture and truly fantastic food.
Aww.
Dan was an early riser, a creature of habit with a fairly routine schedule, beginning typically with tending to his urban garden, and he walked his dogs every morning.
Oh, puppies.
I know. He experimented with growing what some might describe as offbeat produce that he sold to local restaurants.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute.
It gets cuter.
Oh, does it really?
It really does.
I was like, that kind of reminds me of, what's the produce guy in Gilmore Girls?
Jackson.
Yeah, is that his name, Jackson?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting Jackson vibes.
He also raised laying chickens on their small piece of property and sold farm fresh eggs.
I love farm fresh eggs.
I know. I have some in my fridge right now. They're delicious.
Oh, can we go eat some eggs?
I had some for breakfast. Nancy, by contrast, was a romance writer / novelist. Well, self-proclaimed, should probably be inserted there on the front end.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. Everybody needs to calm the actual fuck down on this particular point. Nancy was a self-published, aspiring romance writer, and I've heard her described as if she were a bona fide New York Times bestseller, but she most definitely was not. Her writing was not how she earned her living or primary income, if you will. Her money came primarily from insurance brokering rather than book sales.
Oh,
put a pin in that, because never have I ever been so interested in an insurance broker or their professional dealings. Really quick, I just want to say that none of the aforementioned is to say that earning income from another gig or having a full-time job in addition to your creative pursuits diminishes them at all. That is, of course, unless you're Nancy Crampton Brophy, because let's face it, with a name like that, she was destined to be either a famous author or a murderer.
What show are you on?
Yeah. Exactly. I'm not sure that I'm willing to do a book review on any of her stuff to prove it, but guys, she's definitely getting the latter.
Oh, I kind of want to read some of her books.
I don't know how far you would make it. I've read some short excerpts and it's not awesome.
Okay, on a scale of 50 Shades, is it?
Girl, she really makes 50 Shades look like high art.
Oh my God.
Not gonna lie.
No.
Not gonna lie.
Well, maybe I'll read the excerpts that you read. Send them over.
But let's get back to our story here, because this is real thin gravy and we need to get into the meat after I give you a bit more background. Whew, wow, you guys, sorry about that. I think I was just possessed by the ghost of Paula Deen's reputation there for a moment.
I was going to say, did she die? Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Is she still doing stuff or is she like completely canceled now?
I'm really not sure.
I haven't heard of her.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I've heard of her.
I've heard of her. I haven't heard anything of her for a while. A bit more on Dan's life prior to his untimely passing, which, spoiler alert, JK, this is absolutely not a spoiler, was hastened by a seriously duplicitous dude, his wife, Nancy.
Is there a D word for a girl?
Dame?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Duplicitous dame.
Ooh, should that be the title?
Hello.
Oh, fuck.
Yes.
You guys, magic just happened again in your ear holes.
Ooh. Okay. Poor Dan, though. He was previously married to a woman named Perla.
Perla?
Yeah, isn't that pretty?
That is really cute.
Mm-hmm. With whom he had a son named Nathaniel before their relationship ended. Nancy had also been married to a police officer previously before moving to Oregon from Texas. Yes, which is where she was born and graduated from college. Following their 1994 divorce, Nathaniel lived with his mother, Perla, and was actually estranged from his father, Dan. That is until later in his life, because we are going to hear from Nathaniel in court testimony.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're going to break our hearts.
I don't have anything that's like a tearjerker quote from him necessarily. And I don't know if you know this, but trials last all day. So if there's like a 2-month court case like this, there's literally hundreds of hours of footage from the trial.
Holy shit.
I watched several full days of the court testimony, but I did not watch every single minute of it. I couldn't.
Man.
You guys, court proceedings also, they're not all that interesting all the time. I'll be honest with you. And I talked to Chris about it just as an aside on this. I was like, is it normal? I know you don't go to court all the time. And like usually when you're there, you probably just go and, testify and then leave. But have you ever heard of a case where like multiple times, almost every day, at least in the days that I watched, the jury had to be excused so that they could do like the, approach the bench?
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was very enlightening, I guess. But he said, yeah, I would think that's unusual.
Huh.
So there was a lot of stuff that came up that it's not all that interesting to the case. So a lot of it I ended up cutting out of my notes. But yeah, all of these discussions that they're having about what the jury can hear, very interesting.
That's crazy.
Anyway, following Dan and Perla's divorce, his relationship with Nancy develops after they meet in one of his classes in his early days at the Culinary Institute.
Like, did she go to school or was it just like one of those fun classes?
I think it was one of those like weekend course type deals. Yeah. In 1999, they're married, and in a break with tradition for second marriages, they have a very large wedding ceremony and reception.
Party.
Yeah. Live your best life, I say. Although saying this wedding was large feels like a bit of an understatement. It was something like 300 people large. That's pretty huge for like both of you. This is your second marriage.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. No judgment, but like, I'm pretty sure I will have exactly 0 weddings with that many people. I think I could have 3 weddings and not have that many people.
Seriously.
It's a lot. Which actually reminds me of the adage I keep hearing recently, that the more you spend on a wedding, the more likely the marriage is to fail. Have you heard that one?
You should ask him, Kay.
Yeah.
Oh. Just kidding.
I mean, you're not. But I mean, usually I think that refers to divorce, but when this one ends, it certainly goes down in flames, much like a heated divorce would. And yep, like I said, we still end up in a courtroom. I mean, Here's what's weird though. Nancy and Dan didn't actually legally file their marriage until June of 2016.
So they weren't actually married yet when they got married?
So they had their big party in 1999 and they didn't actually file to be legally married until 2016.
Interesting.
June 14th of 2016. Want to guess when I read that in my research?
It's June 14th, 2022.
No. If you guessed just 2 days after their anniversary, you are correct.
I did not guess that.
You were not correct. You know what's crazy? Her sentencing was on June 13th.
Wow. It's all around the same time. Weird.
I just think that's crazy. Literally, it would have been, the anniversary of when their, legal marriage began. And then she's getting sentenced the day before that.
And the next day she's sitting in a fucking jail cell.
Yeah. Oh, she's been sitting in a jail cell for a while.
Oh, man, I hope she contemplated a lot that day.
Oh, I think she did. I think, if anything, though, the trial really illustrated how she contemplated how she was so much smarter than everyone else. But she's not.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Or we wouldn't be talking about it.
I know. I mean, honestly, this whole case it reads like a romance thriller novel, which was her specialty. It's
gross.
Yeah. That's why I say she was literally trying to bring her hobby writing to life. It's something. Interestingly, it seems like not everyone thought that the Brophy couple had the perfect marriage. Remember I told you that we'd hear from Dan's son, Nathaniel, because it was like 10 seconds ago?
Yeah.
He said they lived very separate lives, often really only mainly sharing their meals that Dan had prepared.
Huh.
Yeah.
So she's using him as a chef.
Yeah. Trouble in paradise? Possibly. So let's get into the case. Y'all, synchronicity.
Ooh,
again.
More.
Yes. June 2nd of 2018 is the critical date in the case. When I started, I had no idea when the crime occurred. I had already been researching this case for a handful of days, mainly just pulling articles and stuff to kind of okay, once I sit down to start really researching, and then I'll start taking notes. So I set all of that aside for when I could dig into the case. But it was June 2nd when I started listening to the actual recorded court proceedings and watching the video of it.
Of course.
I was like, gosh. What? On June 2nd of 2018, Daniel Brophy was tragically shot both in the back and the chest.
Oh my God.
Yes. The bullets were said to have struck him in the spine and pierced his heart, which sounds like another piece of trivia from one of her terrible books. So we can only hope that he didn't suffer for long. I hope. Those arriving at the Oregon Culinary Institute after Dan found him on the floor and tried, but were unable to revive him.
Wait, what?
Oh, you picked up on that?
Yeah, I did. I picked up on that.
Yes.
She shot him at the school?
Yeah. And trust me, we'll get into it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yes. So fellow teachers and students were the ones that found him.
That is so fucking sad. The people that loved him the most, I probably feel since his wife obviously didn't.
Yeah. She was a fan of his cooking.
Ugh.
Yeah. What I know about the 911 call that was placed that morning indicates that these suddenly first responders were incredibly flustered. Fumbling through providing the address, which, I think a lot of people would probably forget their own address in this situation, let alone the address of some other secondary location. And here's the sad part. They tried administering CPR, which appeared at the time to exacerbate his blood loss before it was determined they could not save him.
Oh.
So I think there's probably a little bit of guilt there for them. And the thing is, I don't think there was anything that they could do. Yeah. And nothing they were doing was, they're not at all responsible.
Well, she shot him in the heart. I mean, what? You're not going to survive that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, unlike most of the 911 recordings we're used to hearing in this genre, the dispatcher was really kind.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's good.
She was really sweet. Really, really empathetic with them. Because she could tell they felt, and of course, they just feel horrific.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
I'm so pissed that she put them in that situation. Oh my God.
Dan Brophy's death shocked and saddened the local community. Who would do something like this?
Yeah.
Nancy.
Who?
Nancy, who would do that?
You're listening to an episode of PNW Haunts and Homicides on True Crime by Indie Drop-In. We're going to take a quick break. And now back to this episode of PNW Haunts and Homicides.
Investigators looked into the possibility that a houseless individual in the area might have attacked Dan, but that didn't pan out. They didn't have much to go on, or at least that's what they thought. Dan's killer clearly thought they were clever, but had made quite a few mistakes they would come to find. Some of them wouldn't even be made until the days and weeks following Dan's murder, but they would leave little question in the minds of investigators about who they should focus their investigative efforts on. It's like a little bread trail crumb.
That's literally what I was thinking in my brain.
Yeah.
That's so weird. I was like, should I say that? I don't know. That sounds dumb.
No, it doesn't. I've been thinking about that every time I have looked at this. I'm like, what would you just like a pocket full of croutons?
Yeah.
Jesus. At a certain point, among other, albeit circumstantial evidence, it would come to light that the Brophies did have some financial concerns. They were behind on mortgage payments. You know what was definitely being kept current, though? The premiums on the multiple life insurance policies Nancy had purchased for her husband, Dan.
Oh, of course.
So
important.
I know, right? So I've heard figures between $600,000 and over $1 million.
Sheesh.
To the tune of 1.15 to roughly 1.5 million all told, best I can tell. I think it's the combination of life insurance and workers' comp that accounts for the discrepancy. So I think some sources only look at the life insurance, and so they give you that number, and some look at the workers' comp policy and they're lumping that in, and you just get a wide array of figures.
Is that why she shot him at work?
Cassie.
I'm so smart.
I know. Workers' comp is not exactly what one might consider a sexy topic, but it's an interesting part of this case for sure, because it's a big part of Nancy's eventual downfall, you smarty pants.
Fucking Nancy.
Fucking nailed it. Catalina wine mixer.
Pow.
She knew that she could get an additional $350,000 from workers' comp if Dan was killed on his employer's property. Oh, snap.
Oh, my God. This woman.
As I'm sure you recall, Nancy worked in the industry and actually was the insurance agent that wrote and sold these policies. So she was well acquainted.
She knew.
Yeah. You can't make this stuff up. And if you don't know much about the case yet, it's seriously a treasure trove of I did it breadcrumbs.
I did it.
I feel like that's going to be a merch thing. Can we get little croutons that say I did it?
Little a little breadcrumb container. What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Those little containers of breadcrumbs you get at the store.
I did it. I did it. But this wouldn't be enough for the authorities to arrest Nancy by a long shot. And honestly, they probably wouldn't have looked into her seriously if it weren't for a call that she made to one of the detectives on Dan's case. So, Cassie, I have heard the call she made to the detective, and this granny be wildin'.
Really? Was she hitting on him?
No, although that would be pretty funny because that would also be a major red flag. But in the call, she's inquiring about obtaining a letter stating that she's not a suspect in the murder investigation for the insurance company. I am not kidding you. Her husband's body is not cold. This is less than a week after he died.
Wow. And that's what's on your mind.
Yeah. She told the detective that it was only in reference to a $40,000 policy, which is obviously not true, at least in the sense that the one policy may have been for $40,000, but the benefit of hindsight is we know that she had several out on Dan. So she goes on to say that her lawyer's sister was surprised they'd be so difficult about such a small policy. Usually that only happens with multi-million-dollar policies. Okay. So it's so hard to read this because it all just sounds like a really bad, like detective novel or something.
Yeah.
The detective asks incredulously, why would you need that? She then makes light of the fact that the insurance company must think she reasoned in her old age and decided to not have a husband anymore, basically. The way she worded it was just like, oh.
Okay.
Well, detective, not a complete dumb shit, says, we never would do something like this. Now, this is a true subtitle moment. And this is what I would caption it. Officer Foley fucking fumbling for words. That's not something we never do something like that. That's never been done. I've never heard of that being done. Because fucking duh.
Was that a direct quote?
It literally is. I listened to this call like probably a dozen times because I was typing it out.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I do not have a future in court reporting. Of course, she confirms that she had highly doubted they would. She's like, oh, yeah, I didn't think you'd do that. Then why'd you fucking ask? She also shared with the detective that she asked the insurance company about what would happen if his case went unsolved. Apparently, they replied that it would be escalated to a supervisor's review. She lied about the policy, even if only by insinuating that the amount was much smaller than the total monetary amount she stood to gain, which honestly had me feeling a bit gaslit. So I started questioning everything. Is her sister even a lawyer? She makes reference to her in the call, and I'm like, actually? Does she even have a sister?
Oh my God.
Nancy, girl, TikTok has an incredibly popular sound practically made for you. You crazy. You crazy, girl.
Oh my gosh.
I can't with her.
Did you ever find out?
She does actually have a lawyer sister.
Oh.
Yeah. It looks like there's a couple different news agencies that must have actually fact checked that, but
I wouldn't be shocked if it wasn't true.
I know. Oh my gosh, this woman. Yeah, she talks in circles too in her testimony. It's just wild. Once this train started moving because Nancy was too impatient to wait around for her check to be cut, it only picked up steam. Surveillance footage became key evidence in the case. Cameras in the area near OCI in downtown Portland off Jefferson Street captured video of a minivan that's like soups similar to Nancy's. Just driving around nearby within mere minutes of when Dan Brophy was shot.
Weird.
So weird. The vehicle seen near the crime scene not only matched the general description of her vehicle, but also had what appeared to be a scrape that matched the one on Nancy's van. So there's like it's like if you saw somebody that looked like me, but then they also had the same exact tattoo.
Yeah. It's probably you.
It's probably. Yeah. Though the driver was not totally visible, so it wasn't super easy to make out who the specific individual driving was, that person even looked like Nancy. Basically, Nancy is getting the takedown from the traffic cams and those at the Bellagio's Pizza.
Ooh.
This part of the story legitimately has been making me so hungry. I need more Bellagio's pizza in my life.
Is that what you said you wanted pizza last night?
Yeah. And this is a very low calorie way to accomplish that. Just talk about the pizza.
Yeah. Taco Bell.
Yeah. Just sniff it. All right. So I'll try to put together a visual for this timeline for you guys, but here it goes. From 7:22:30, because it goes down to the millisecond on some of this footage, to just before 7:30 a.m. It's a very critical window of time. It's like 7.5 minutes. Dan is bringing supplies into the school through their big roll-up door, and the alarm is disengaged at 7:22:30. 7:28, Nancy, or her doppelganger, is seen on Bellagio's video, which is Bellagio's is literally directly across the street. Okay. She's seen on a bunch of other cams. I'm going to put together a little timeline thing so you guys can like really get the visual on this. It's just chef's kiss.
Literally.
Chef's kiss, Nance. All right. So a bit more at length here. Nancy's first pass downtown that they documented through traffic cams was from 6:39 to 6:42 a.m. It's captured on video. The second pass, driving around, from 7 a.m. to 7:09 is on 17th Avenue. Okay, 17th and Jefferson is right about where OCI is. She's just literally driving around in loops for like 40 minutes.
Wow.
In that area.
Yeah, like why would you do that?
I don't know. Like maybe you're waiting for something. So she's on 17th Avenue when she leaves the frame of surveillance footage. Having watched so much of the court proceedings and all of the evidence as it was presented to the jury, I think it's safe to say that the surveillance footage alone wouldn't have led to a conviction, but it's incredibly damning even on its own.
Yeah.
For reference, on this strip of road, there are multiple cameras, both traffic and those operated by private businesses. That's how they were able to track her movement so closely within the time that she was driving around or even just parked in the downtown area. On this stretch of road, beginning on the one end of Jefferson, is the Goose Hollow westbound platform, then the First United Methodist Church. There used to be an East Side deli right next to the Bellagio's, the infamous Bellagio's, which is on the opposite side of the road from where OCI was. Okay. PGE is on the backside across another parallel street block, right off of Columbia, to be precise. The KGW building, which is how they captured quite a bit of the footage. Is the other like furthest landmark down this stretch of road. Kind of crazy. So
what's the KGW building for everyone who doesn't live here?
Oh, right. That's fair. So KGW is one of the major like local news networks here. So
tis.
Yeah. So she was literally making the news on the morning that
crazy.
She commit the murder.
Oh my God.
So, and we talked about this already, but the building where the Oregon Culinary Institute used to be, it's now Blue Star Donuts. And I gotta say, like, I really want donuts now too.
Yeah. Or do you?
I mean, yeah, I do.
That seems like a sad donut.
Oh, there's no such thing. Blue Star makes amazing donuts. Nancy told police that she was at home at the time of his murder, but she had some splaining to do. Then oddly, Nancy all of a sudden has no recollection of where she went without her phone or how long she was gone. If in fact she was gone. On the freaking day her husband was murdered. Or so she says, and round we go. She thinks she would have gone out to get coffee and then likely went back to bed upon her return home and was writing when their acquaintance through OCI, Maxine, called. Courtroom testimony would later shed light on the fact that Nancy had expressed some dissatisfaction with her life and marriage.
Interesting. Also, who goes and gets coffee and then goes back to bed?
Exactly.
What?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I just,
I mean, no judgment on your life if that's what you want to do, but like, it seems a little sus.
It does, right? I mean, I guess I could see just like kind of lounging while you're waiting for the caffeine hit, but
yeah.
How'd you make it all the way home? Because they don't actually live in Portland proper. They live in Beaverton.
She said she went all the way out to Portland to get coffee?
Yeah, she would have driven all the way to downtown to get coffee that morning from Beaverton.
When there's like a Starbucks, a Dutch, a Black Rock, what the fuck else is there? Coffee Rush? Are those still around?
There's so many. So, things she said on the date of her arrest, September 5th of 2018. Would also be pointed to as cause for suspicion. You're arresting me? You must think I murdered my husband. She was indicted 8 days later on the 13th and charged with second-degree murder. And you know what I just realized? She was indicted on the 13th and she was sentenced on the 13th. 13 has proven to be a very unlucky number for Nancy.
Wow.
Yikes. All right. When she got her day in court, she would plead not guilty, which, girl, how? But while behind bars for 4 years, she was clearly working out what she was going to say about quite a few things, because you better believe it, she would testify. Talking heads on TV have speculated throughout the trial that she'd end up writing a novel about her experience in prison. LOL.
Oh my God.
LOL. No. Which I'm not planning to share any of her writing samples with the caveat of except as it pertains to the case. But if those previously produced pieces are any indication, yikes.
Ooh, that sounds juicy what you just said. Did you all catch that?
No, thank you, please. Nancy, not interested in your long-winded and nonsensical musings about the clink.
The clink.
What I was very interested to hear about was her crazy-ass court case. We learned a lot from various aspects of the trial and testimony. Among those who testified, Daniel Reisberg, a professor from Reed College who was supposed to be testifying as an expert witness regarding memory and how trauma can affect it? Question mark?
Interesting.
I'm Ron Burgundy. I think, unfortunately, the waters were just too muddy by the time all of the experts came and went from the courtroom for this to have the desired effect. Several other noteworthy people in Dan and Nancy's lives also made an appearance. Dan Brophy's mother, Karen, provided what felt like incredibly emotionally difficult testimony. Nancy would acknowledge that she told his elderly mother that he was dead before being officially notified.
What?
Yeah. And I could go into explaining it, but just know that her justification in the courtroom was flimsy and uninspired, like most of her stories.
So she told the mom that her son was dead before Nancy was notified?
So Nancy told Dan's mom that he was dead before she was officially notified as the spouse. Yeah.
So how would she? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Got you.
How would they know?
They're not going to
know. They're going to know.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Listen, there's a reason that testifying is optional. And in most cases, ill-advised. Counsel is going to, or should tell you, it's unlikely to return a favorable outcome.
Yeah.
So, others who testified. Paul Johnston, a realtor and neighbor of the Brophies, was called to the stand. The reluctant and currently incarcerated Andrea Jacobs, who had previously been housed with Nancy in Multnomah County's detention facility and befriended her. She did not want to be there.
Why would she testify?
The state did a little arm twisting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Which I was like, okay, but yeah, you should probably come and tell this story about how Nancy saw an article about her in People and was pointing it out to everyone in jail.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you should probably testify. Sorry, I think we're going to have to involve you. Nathaniel, Dan's son from his previous marriage, spoke. He's not been speaking to the press outside of the courtroom in recent months, in part because he was planning to testify, and also in the interest of the civil case he's been preparing to file against Nancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, wrongful death.
Awesome.
I'll say.
Do it, buddy.
Mm-hmm. And then a woman named Maxine, I mentioned her, she called Nancy that morning, who had worked with Dan at OCI, and she had been present the morning he was murdered and also knew Nancy as probably what most would describe as a friendly acquaintance. Generously. She didn't exactly try to throw shade, but let's just say a point was definitely made of asking her whether she'd read any of Nancy's books, and she did not answer in the affirmative. That was such a beautiful moment in the courtroom. Like the Sistine Chapel. Now, there's tons more people that provided testimony, but I think that these are kind of the ones that seem to provide the most illuminating information. Obviously, we won't be able to touch on absolutely every detail or every person that entered the courtroom. If you want that level of coverage, that in depth, you're just going to have to get your butt over to YouTube for the full recordings. But I warn you, it's multiple weeks worth of footage.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they leave the recording running every time they excuse the jury.
Wow.
So you have to manually fast forward. It's fun.
I'm really glad you're doing the true crime side.
God, I was like, why am I doing this?
I don't think I'll ever dip my toe in there.
It's funny because right around the time that I was finishing up my notes, I was like, I just stumbled upon something and I was like, oh, this would be fun. I was like, oh, this is really technically spooky. I was like,
you can do it, dude.
That seems more fun.
Do it. I guess I dabbled in a little murder last time.
We do kind of have like a little crossover here or there, but
it's just not full on court proceedings.
Yeah. Shit, dude. It's going to be a while before I go into something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of shade about Nancy's writing, of which we have aplenty, Let me just read you a list of some interesting titles she wrote or read during the time frame shortly before Dan's death.
Okay.
She penned the now infamous blog post. Okay. Have you swallowed? You just took a sip of wine and I don't want you to choke to death.
Okay.
Cassie, I shit you not. How to Murder Your Husband.
What?
Is this real life?
She literally wrote something about how to murder your husband.
Sure did.
How did she think that she was smarter than everybody else? Tell me that again. What?
Okay, so here is where, I was talking about how sometimes they had to excuse the jury. And I was like, God damn it. Every 10 seconds, these people we got to sit here for 10 minutes while they, talk about whether or not we can ask this or that question. This piece wasn't permitted into the trial by the judge. If I had to summarize why, I would say it's probably because of its prejudicial nature and limited probative value.
What the fuck does that mean, Kate? You're using really big words.
Okay, so when we're talking about something being prejudicial in nature, it means basically that it unreasonably kind of turns the jury against you.
But yeah, for good reason.
Yeah. And the limited probative value indicates that this is going to turn the jury against her. And it's really not evidence of anything.
I highly disagree.
I'm with you on this one. Okay?
I'm going to go be a judge, y'all.
I mean, legally speaking, I think probably accurate. Prosecutors did say, however, that a search of a computer owned by the couple revealed they had a joint iTunes account with a very unsettling article bookmarked. Its title, 10 Ways to Cover a Murder.
Why is that even an article? Who is writing this shit? Are they behind bars? Because I'm scared.
Right? So are you ready to hear some gems from this article?
Yeah, I'm already terrified. So keep it coming.
Perfect. The article suggested that, quote, the best time to commit a crime is in the very early hours of the day when most people are asleep.
That is terrifying.
Check.
Oh my God.
Her own How to Murder Your Husband blog post on C. Jane Publish stated, as a romantic suspense writer, I spend a lot of time thinking about murder. After all, if the murder is supposed to set me free, I certainly don't want to spend any time in jail. Orange isn't my color.
Oh my God.
Oh, it gets better. Her epically named novels include The Wrong Lover, The Wrong Husband, and Hell on the Heart.
Wow.
Now listen, I understand that none of this alone would be evidence of guilt. Maybe evidence of being guilty of reading and writing shitty books. But let me ask you this. After hearing this brief rundown, do you think she did it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No doubt in my mind.
She did it. But wait, there's more. I saved the smoking and also missing gun for last.
You
see what I did there?
Yes, I do.
Such a good writer.
You are a way better writer than what's her butt Brophy.
Isn't that hilarious? Shortly after the shooting, Nancy Brophy surrendered a gun to the police, which matched the caliber of the gun that was used in the murder. Okay. Now, it's basically the most common weapon. Everybody's got one for self-defense.
What is it?
It's a Glock. It's a 9mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but that's fine.
Okay. That's funny because you want to hear. My next sentence, this statement may have you confused. Caitlin, you just said there was a missing gun. Explain yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Authorities originally determined this particular gun had been unused. So she gives them this gun like, oh yeah, I've never even fired it.
Okay. That makes sense.
But her pants were literally on fire.
Literally?
Yeah.
Did she get burned?
Who cares? Nancy stated they had bought the gun for personal protection in response to the rising gun violence. Weird, because when she was married to a cop in Texas, she wouldn't let him keep that gun in their home, his literal service weapon.
Okay. Weird.
You're listening to an episode of PNW Haunts and Homicides on True Crime by Indie Drop-In. We're going to take a quick break. And now back to this episode of PNW Haunts and Homicides.
At any rate, she stated they had never bought ammunition for it.
What the fuck is the point of having a gun without ammunition? Like, seriously, what the fuck?
So it might have looked like a dead end on the surface. That is, until in the course of their investigation, they made another discovery. Nancy had made some other purchases online, and she wasn't shopping at Etsy.
What a fucking idiot.
She bought gun parts from both eBay and, fucking kid you not, ghostguns.com.
I thought it was really funny that you said gun parts.
Why?
I don't know why. She bought gun parts.
But it's what they are.
That is so weird. A ghost gun.
Yeah, more than a little suspicious, if you ask me.
Also, like, if you think you're so fucking smart, why do you think they can't look on your computer and find out what you're buying online?
I think she's too old to understand technology. Okay, also, she thought she had another workaround for that.
Okay.
I'm going to get there.
I'm listening. All right. I'm going to stop interrupting you.
No, you're good. All told, the following was taken into evidence by police. A fully assembled handgun, a 9mm Glock 17, and a ghost gun build kit. This is literally a kit that you buy to assemble your own gun.
How is she going to do that? I feel like you need some sort of gun knowledge and skills to build a gun. Maybe some tools.
Yes.
Because I know people who build their own guns and you need a lot of stuff for that.
Yeah. I don't think she realized what she was getting into.
Not enough research, honey.
I know. Don't worry, I'll explain because it's easier than what I did figuring it out from trial footage and follow-up Googling. That's for damn sure. Nancy had a perfectly reasonable explanation for all of this hardware too, you guys. Nancy said Dan supposedly thought it was a bad idea for her to take apart the Glock fully for her research project that she was doing for her book, but not yet.
Okay.
That's why she had purchased the extra slide and barrel from eBay and the ghost gun kit. Okay. Mm-hmm. So she's already got the Glock 9mm. Oh no, Nancy, don't take that whole thing apart. Let's not do that. Not a good idea. I mean, yeah, agreed. Same. Do I think that's actually what happened? No. So here's where it gets interesting. In March of 2018, she Googled how to load a Glock and also how to clean one. Following her totally believably innocent research, she drove out in the country somewhere out towards Banks, Vernonia, conveniently near Wolf Creek Gun Range. She's never been to a gun range though, y'all.
Oh.
Never.
Never have I ever.
No, that had been recommended by the gun shop J&B, where she purchased the fully assembled Glock. And we know this because we have a receipt where J&B or Nancy wrote the name of the gun range. Like
Oh my God. Also, you said Nancy.
Nancy.
I'm going to leave it in because it's funny, but Nancy.
So do you want to know what Nancy said about all this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
I thought you might want
I'd like to know. Yeah.
Nancy said she was probably looking at properties on the 2 dates that her cell records show she did this. So she drives out to this range on 2 days in a row. She argued there would have been much closer places to go to if she was going out to practice shooting than all the way out to this area. On one of the dates in question, she had lunch in Portland with a friend. She said she would frequently meet at Nicholas's restaurant in Northeast on Broadway to talk about writing. Do you see how she just bogs us down in these inane and totally unrelated details? Yeah, there was a lot of that.
Awesome.
Apparently, her driving pattern was the same 2 days in a row. But the second day, she was out there a bit longer. So weird, because she drove out to this gun range 2 days in a row. Or wait, no. She's never been to a gun range. She just drove out by it because she was looking at properties. Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Right after she finished her research about how to load a Glock and clean it. Yeah, the research on guns and the purchases online were completed on one computer before being packed away, at which point she bought a new computer. That was in March of 2018, 3 months before Dan died.
Wow.
She tried to logic her way out of that one as well, though, stating that she's hard on computers when she takes them out into the field and buys them fairly inexpensively because she basically buys a new one every year as a result. Nancy, what are you doing with these? I'm pretty sure people who serve tours of active duty abroad don't get a new laptop every year.
Yeah. Holy shit. Can you imagine? We just got these laptops about a year ago-ish.
Yeah. Oh, shit. You know what? You're right. Better throw this one away. It's trash.
Although mine is being weird. It's haunted.
That's
fine.
Just haunting, though. Further explanation is offered as to why all this gun talk is just hooey. Hooey. She stated at one point that the ghost gun kit is not a weapon, despite the prosecution's use of such vocabulary. She makes the assertion that it's not a weapon, and I quote, "Unless I hit somebody over the head with the case, there's nothing about that gun kit that's a gun." Nancy, girl, I totally follow. It's not a gun until you take the handful of hours to put it together, and you totally didn't. Okay? Of course, end of story. She said it was just the parts and pieces to do so, and likened it, I gotta say, quite hilariously in the moment, to an omelet. Hear me out, guys. I didn't say it, but I am gonna repeat it. I've got eggs and flour in my pantry, and that's not an omelet either.
Do you use flour in an omelet?
I don't know.
Who uses flour in their omelet? She's obviously not the chef.
Yeah. Oh she learned nothing from Dan's class.
Wow. So we stand corrected.
I don't think so.
Apparently, to make a fluffy omelet, you separate the egg yolks from the egg whites, and you put a little bit of flour in the egg yolks and whip them up.
Here's the thing is I don't like omelets, and I don't want mine fluffy, and I don't want none of Nancy's advice.
You don't like omelets?
I'm not really a fan. More of a sunny side up kind of gal.
I like them all. Eggs anyway. Eggs for days. Give me the eggs. Anyway,
all right.
We just didn't want all the emails from the chefs.
Yeah, don't add us about your freaking flour. But here's the thing. Did you know that if you swap out these parts, the ones that Nancy ordered individually from eBay, if you swap these out on a gun, it effectively makes it appear like the gun has never been fired.
What?
I know.
I totally wasn't going to guess that earlier, but I didn't want to ruin your story again. That is crazy, though.
Yeah. Okay. So this is just, it took me a long time because I was like, why are they asking her so many questions about, like, I just didn't know enough about, like, I had to put all the pieces together.
Literally, the gun pieces.
Yeah, all the gun pieces. Mm-hmm. So the theory posited by police and the prosecution is that Nancy put the new parts that she purchased from eBay on the gun before she allegedly shot her husband and reassembled the gun with the original parts after. Okay. So the ghost gun kit, they spent a lot of time talking about it, but it was still in the package.
Okay.
That's part of what made it so confusing trying to put all this together. Doing so would ensure that the ballistics from the bullets at the scene of the crime would not match the gun surrendered with the original slide and barrel. Pretty crafty, Nance. Can I call you Nance?
Did you write that?
Mm-hmm. Police never recovered the parts of the gun they believed were used in the shooting. This case will literally have me meticulously documenting everything in my Google search history and all of my purchases. Let's just say that, because I'm going to be honest with you, doing what we do, especially from my angle, I'm like, shit, I guess I better hope nothing ever happens to Chris.
I know. Like,
Fuck.
what if we get framed for something? Like, there's so much.
I know. We probably should cut this out so that people don't get ideas.
I know. Don't frame us.
Yeah. God. Join the Patreon instead.
Definitely logical.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back and I just want to like summarize really quickly. So as far as the evidence in terms of weapons, what we've got. So Nancy surrendered the fully assembled 9mm, okay, the Glock 17, and she gave them the ghost gun kit. But her purchase history from eBay indicated that she had purchased the additional slide and barrel, which, oh my God, you guys, they've never been found. So we've got a gun fully assembled that looks like it's never been used. And then we have the ghost gun kit, which looks like it's never been taken out of the packaging, never been assembled. The interesting thing is those two missing pieces.
Yeah. Where'd those go?
Yeah, that's so weird.
Interesting.
Well, I think it comes as no surprise. The jury found 71-year-old Nancy guilty of 1 count of murder in the second degree after deliberating for just about 24 hours. She will be eligible to pursue parole after 25 years, assuming she lives that long.
Hopefully not.
Well, I mean, she'd be like 96.
Yeah. Okay, go have fun.
Right? Either way, the house the Brophies once lived in has since been resold. Ooh. And you guys, wouldn't you know, it's within a totally reasonable driving distance for me.
Oh.
So, you know, we're not going to have to settle for the Berkshire Hathaway photos, though I'm not going to be sharing the address of the house online, even though it's been pretty widely circulated that it's easy enough to find. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, we don't need any extra stuff on the people that live there, but.
Yeah. And I know that Dan Brophy didn't die in the house, but I would feel bad for the new owners if people swarmed their property. Just remember, circling back to a previous episode, it's Dick Road. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, seriously. Well, we have the pictures for you. You don't have to go. I would say go to the Blue Star if you want something creepy to go to, and then buy stuff. So you're like supporting a business as well.
Some of the people that are involved with these local restaurants and shops, they're students of his. So, I think it's really fitting that Blue Star ended up there, and they make delicious donuts. So I think we should go right now. Do we have time? I want to cram my whole face hole with donuts. So
my face hole.
So yeah, that's the case. So I think we're going to have to get into some tarot here in a moment.
I have one last question.
Oh, yes.
Did she ever say what happened to the Etsy gun parts? Like, did she have
You mean the eBay gun part?
Did I say Etsy?
Yeah, because I had said she wasn't shopping on Etsy.
Yeah.
Because of her video.
The eBay gun parts.
No, she has no idea. Nancy she can't remember what happened. She has no idea.
I don't recall.
It's really interesting how she remembers these very specific details about like, oh, on that date, I had lunch with so-and-so at this restaurant, blah, 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 blah. But
doesn't remember where her gun parts are.
Yeah, weird.
Guns are a big responsibility, and you better fucking know where your gun shit is, okay?
I mean, even just the slide and barrel.
Yeah.
I feel like, you probably shouldn't be misplacing that.
Because obviously people can use it for naughty things.
Right.
So,
yeah. And when I say misplaced, I think probably it's, been misplaced in a body of water or something like that. She
put it in a thing of cement.
Yeah. All right. So we're here for our tarot.
Okay. I'm excited for this tarot reading. I feel like it's going to go really well.
I think it's going to be like epic.
Well, now you're putting a lot of pressure on it.
Well, I didn't have a chance to tell you this yet. I did a tarot read for a friend of ours.
Ooh.
Last night.
She's witching on the side, y'all.
Yeah. I got a text asking for a tarot reading, and she was like, I can pay you for it. And I was like, bitch, are you kidding me? No.
We're witching for free right now.
Well, yeah, when I tell you later who it was, you'll be like, oh yeah, of course we would. Obviously. Like, yeah, no. We're not charging you. Never in my dizziest daydreams.
But how'd it go?
So I did a 3-card reading, and I felt like, okay, based on this, I think maybe some of this makes sense, but I didn't really know all of the applications. And then I pulled another card because I was like, okay, this is the read on the situation. What does she need to do? And then I was even more confused. So I literally I was using my old deck too, because I can't shuffle with those.
Yeah.
And I pulled 2 more cards that kept popping up at the bottom of the deck. And I was like, fine, you know what? I'm just going to read these 2. And so I was like, okay, so I did a thing. I know we talked about a 3-card read, but here's what I did.
The universe wanted you to have more. It's fine. It happens.
Yeah. And there was definitely repeating suits, repeating numbers and themes. And she was like, I also had another friend of mine do a tarot read for me because I wanted to see if I was getting a consistent read on the situation. And she said the readings, even though they weren't the same exact cards, because that would be a little too weird.
A little too
much. She said it was spot on.
Yeah.
So
that happened to me too. I got a reading from someone on Instagram, and it was literally everything I had been pulling for myself. And I was like, wow, it's really weird to see. Okay, you can do it for yourself all the time, but do you really mean it, universe? And then you get it from someone else who's doesn't even know you.
Yeah.
And you're getting the same shit. And it's okay, I hear you. I hear you.
Okay, let me take a turn at shuffling because I want to.
Okay.
It needs to get some of my vibes from the frustration of hours and hours and hours of courtroom video.
The cards just fly everywhere.
That was
good.
Not terrible.
That was pretty good.
Okay. Let's cut these babies. Oh, you want to show that off to our friends?
We got strength.
In reverse.
In reverse. Okay. It is a beautiful woman with a lion.
Yeah, that's funny. That's my...
I was just going to say that.
Were you?
Yes. Like your zodiac sign?
Yeah, it is. Okay, so for this card, our keywords are inner power, overcoming weaknesses, courage, persistence. Some tarot artists show strength as a woman in relationship to a lion. The woman seems to be controlling the powerful beast, even treating him affectionately as she would a pet.
Okay.
In the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, the woman bends over the lion, gently closing his jaws as if she expects no resistance to her touch.
Wow.
In other decks, she caresses the lion, rides atop him, or stands beside him. Although some interpreters view this card as emblematic of the struggle with your animal nature, others see it as symbolic of self-confidence and inner strength, of being in harmony with your instinctive nature. Interesting. I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
We've got an extra little excerpt here too. Strength's number. Some decks assign strength the number 11 and give justice number 8. I think strength and 8 are more closely aligned. And so did the creators of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, who broke with the old numbering system. From the perspective of numerology, 8 corresponds to pragmatism, material mastery, and financial success, whereas 11 represents humanitarianism, inequality. Interesting. Okay.
It's an 8 on this card. And then she's got like an infinity sign above her head, which is obviously like a sideways 8 too. That's interesting.
When strength shows up reversed, it suggests a struggle between your inner and outer selves. Like your two separate worlds that you compartmentalize as a writer versus a normal person, which was a huge part of the trial.
Yeah.
Ooh. Either you're being controlled by your emotions and your animal nature, or you're ignoring your instincts and listening only to logic. Brute force alone won't get you where you want to go. Set your ego aside for now.
Yeah, Nance.
In a reading about money, inner fears, insecurity, or indecision may be interfering with your prosperity, or you may be using the wrong means to gain financially.
I'm sorry, my cord is going everywhere, but like my hands need to do something.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And your hands are doing something. Listen to your instincts as well as your intellect to avoid I almost said suspect.
I thought it was like, does that what it
says? Setbacks. Well, being a suspect is definitely a setback. If the reading is about your job, you may feel overwhelmed by a situation or uncertain how to handle it. Lack of confidence keeps you from achieving your goals. Also, so does being in prison. This card can also mean you're trying to muscle your way ahead, which will likely fail.
Yeah.
Your position may not be as strong as you think.
Oh my
Shut
God.
The fudging front door.
Thank you,
all
tarot.
The fuckery.
Thank you, tarot cards.
Again. Wow.
We're getting so much better at this, I feel like.
This is wild. Okay, I didn't read as many of her musings on like relationships and love and all of that, but she definitely has some backward ass thoughts about relationships and okay. In a reading about love, you may be afraid to show your true feelings and put up a tough facade. However, this won't bring the happiness you seek. Relinquish your defenses, put your ego aside, and open your heart to make a relationship work.
Wow.
Okay, so I got to go back because literally just reading the description of the front, of the card itself, I feel like it just really got to me how it's like, this is how how they're describing this woman treating a lion is like how she was very like belittling and just like this emotional distance, all of this with her spouse. Like all they did at certain times in their relationship was like, they'd sit down to like eat meals together that he made for her. It's like clearly somebody who's more invested in the relationship, and she's putting up some barriers, I think.
Yeah.
And then struggling with your animal nature.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Wow.
This is so weird.
Gently closing his jaws as if she expects no resistance to her touch, which like literally gives me chills.
It does.
Because Dan was in a place that he knew well, someplace he felt comfortable, someplace he should have been safe. And it was very clear that there was no struggle.
Yeah.
No resistance.
The lion is sad too, you guys.
Yeah.
It looks sad. I just feel so bad for him.
I know.
All of his students and coworkers and family.
I keep going back to even just the initial description physically of the card. The woman seems to be controlling the powerful beast, even treating him affectionately as she would a pet.
Mm-hmm. Like she was just using him.
I am just lost for words. This is crazy.
I don't get it. Just like get a divorce, make your own fucking money. Like, why do you have to take
Nancy
a life?
Had a good quote about that. Why would you? It was basically to the effect of, why would you want to get a divorce and only get half the money?
Because you're two human fucking beings on this planet who deserve to be alive. She doesn't deserve to be alive anymore, but oh my God. Just the lack of respect for other humans just blows my mind all the time.
Set your ego aside is something that is said in the interpretation like repeatedly with this card. And boy, howdy, does this woman have an ego.
Man, I also, this just popped in my brain of her like thinking she couldn't get a divorce and be like a romance writer.
Oh,
you know
maybe.
What I mean? Like 2 divorces, like you know nothing about romance. I'm not buying your books.
Yeah. I mean, very few people are buying her books. Although I did find, if you guys are curious, I guess she does have a little bit of a following on Goodreads. Yeah.
Interesting. Man. Well, another spot on tarot read.
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy. You're crazy.
That's girl. All we can say every time. Crazy.
Yeah. You're crazy. You're crazy, girl.
Well.
All right.
Have a creepy ass day. See you next Tuesday. Not you, Nance.
Oh, now the kiss feels wrong.
No, because you kissed the Patreon.
Okay.
Or our lovely creepy people. Fuck you, Nance.
Yeah.
No kisses. Ever again.
So for all of you that are listening, if you have any true crime or paranormal stories that you want us to share, maybe with the whole Pacific Northwest.
Yes, we would love to read them on the pod.
Yes, we will read them out loud.
Not just in our heads.
Yes. They don't have to be from the Pacific Northwest. If you would like to share, email us at pnw@homicides@gmail.com. It's all spelled out, no special characters, super duper easy peasy.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Same thing as the email at PNW Haunts and Homicides, all spelled out, no special characters. Please also rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening to, and check out our stories on social media because our meme game is hot.
Agreed.
And if you agree, like Caitlin, you can also find us on Patreon and support the show.
Bitchin'.
Molly! I'm recording you, Molly. You're going to be a featured outtake.
She's not intimidated by your threat.
What a little shit.
Molly, enough!
Thanks again for listening to True Crime by Indie Drop-In Network. If you would like to nominate a true crime podcast to be featured, just send me a tweet at Indie Drop-In. I'd also love to hear if one of our featured podcasts is now your favorite show. Indie Drop-In survives off ad revenue and listener donations. If you would like to contribute, please consider buying me a coffee. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/Indie Drop-In. If you look at the very bottom of the episode description, I put a link in there to make it really easy. Indie Drop-In has many other shows that you also might like. Just go to indiedropin.com. All right, see you next week.